Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hormone Helper podcast. I'm Coach Andrew, your hormone helper from Fit for All Fitness. I personally coach over 1,600 men and women to help better understand their hormones so they can lose weight and get their metabolism back on track. With this podcast, you're going to hear from me and my special guests about everything from metabolism to thyroid to weight loss. And we even talk a little bit of sexy time as we chat to spread more knowledge, thick like butter, on your hormones. If you're ready to learn, I'm ready to share, so let's do this. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Hormone Helper podcast. Today's guest is someone who knows firsthand what it takes to ditch the quick fixes and get real results. Keyon Silva is a personal trainer and the owner of FP Fitness in Burlington, where he's helped hundreds of people drop weight, build muscle, and finally get consistent in their habits without having to give up their lives or actually starve on detox teas. He brings both the no BS perspective and the supportive coach energy. And today we're going to dig into what actually works when it comes to sustainable weight loss and why most of you see what's going on in the online maybe as potential noise. So thanks for joining us, Keyon. What's going on, brother?
Hey, Andrew, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to have you out. I wanted to do this episode with you because I don't know if you've seen the buzz, especially around Netflix, on the good old kind of weight loss thing that's been going for The Biggest Loser. First of all, did you see it? Yes or no?
No. Well,
Okay.
maybe. Which one are you referring to?
So there's a documentary on The Biggest Loser, and this is talking about the crash dieting, which we've known, you and I have known, that this has been on the industry forever. However, they did a big exposure for The Biggest Loser. If you haven't seen it, man, I wouldn't recommend seeing it. It honestly was a huge trigger as like a former coach. But this, I think, is really relevant because people now are really getting social media saturated. They're getting to this point where they don't know what to make heads or tails of health information. So I think it's going to be great that we're going to be talking about kind of the lies of these quick fixes and how people can really do weight loss sustainably.
Yes, this is a big one, and I can already imagine how that, what was it, 600-pound, what's the show called?
I think it's like Biggest Loser, 600-pound life. Yeah, there's several shows like
There's
that.
a couple of those. I can already see where it goes because a lot of times they relapse and they end up getting all the weight back and they can't keep it off. It's great for TV. They have all these incentives. They have all these coaches keeping them accountable while they're on TV. But then as soon as the cameras are off, they go back to their old habits. Then, of course, they end up gaining all the way back or getting even in a worse position from when they started. And yeah, it happens a lot, actually. And this is the problem with crash diets. They're proven not to work. Now, they say that diets don't work, and you got to be a little bit more specific. I think like crash diets definitely tend to fail more. And that's why, for example, at FP Fitness, we try to work on nutrition because diet means temporary. And we want to make sure that we are providing long-lasting change, right? Something they can actually stick to. Because if you're just put back into that same situation that got you overweight in the first place, nothing's going to change. And you're in the industry, so you've seen this happen before, right? And you've probably had people, they've signed up for a service, they're doing really, really good with the trainer. As soon as they stop, they get the weight back, and then they come back to you or try to do something else. And it's really tough for a lot of people, right? Because if someone put on like 50 pounds over like the course of 10 years, it's problematic when they try to lose all that weight. Like they want to lose like 50 pounds in like 6 weeks, which is not a good idea. Like, can it be done? Yeah. Are you going to be happy? And is it going to be the healthiest possible way to do that? No, it's not. And what we would try to do is we want people to lose weight at a healthy rate. And that's where some people, they really, really want to jump the gun. They really want to lose too much too quick. And then you become starving. And then you start to like kind of cheat on the nutrition plan a little bit. And then you go back into your old habits and then you're back to square one. And I used to do this all the time. I used to, only be disciplined for like, a couple weeks or something. And then I'm like, okay, I need to stop drinking going out for fast food, takeout all the time. Eating out at restaurants. I worked at a restaurant, so I'd always like eat and drink after every shift. Like it was like clockwork. And then
Mm.
as soon as I was like, you know what, I need to not only lose weight but keep it off, I had to focus on nutrition. And nutrition, like I mentioned before, means long lasting changes, stuff that you can reasonably stick to. Because for example, even to this day, I can't keep chips in the house. If I have
Mm.
chips in the house, I will eat them. Since I've been injured, so for those of you listening, I actually have
Yeah.
like a knee injury, and I've had clients, I've had family members like bring some food, and that being like some of my favorite flavors of chips, and I've been eating it. It's not good, but
Mm.
it's because it's there. If it was not there, I would not eat it. I can't go to the grocery store myself right now. I need help because with my knee injury, I can't leave the house or I can't drive. So if it's there, I will eat it. And you need to build up, you need to make it so that you can't really cheat on your nutrition plan because your house, your safe space is set up in a way that you don't have to do it or you're not able to cheat. And
Mm.
that's some of the biggest things. So just like these little habits, tricks, tips that I've just learned over the years, where it's not about losing it quick anymore. It's actually about losing it and then keeping it off.
You said a couple of points that I want to touch on, and first we'll go right into that. What is the definition of sustainable and consistent weight? Because when people say I want to lose weight sustainably, everyone envisions a different number. So going back to kind of that crazy documentary where these guys were losing 20 pounds in a day, which is
Yeah.
insane. Obviously, of course, every single one of them rebounded. Some of the people had permanent hormonal issues and side effects, and you know what
Oh yeah.
hard dieting and crash dieting can do. What is the realistic number that people can expect in a weight loss journey, let's say on a per week basis?
Well, the answer is it depends. It depends on how heavy the person is, gender, age. It depends on a bunch of factors. Like the heavier you are, like these guys are 600 pounds. Easier to lose 20 pounds in a day if you're 600 pounds. If you're 100 pounds, you're on life support if you lose 20 pounds in a day. Like it's going to be pretty bad. We don't want that. So the heavier you are, the more weight you can lose per week. So let's just say you're 300 pounds and you want to lose 50, right? Then I could recommend, hey, you could probably lose around 4 pounds a week safely. Could you lose a little bit more? Yes. Have we seen people lose a little bit more? Yeah. But we want to make sure, hey, are you starving all the time? Is it something that you can actually like, are you actually sticking to the meal plan and it's, you're not feeling sick or you're feeling nauseous or anything like that? But that's what we need to do. But if you're like 120 pounds, you want to lose 10, then maybe about 1 to 2 pounds a week is something that we can do, right? So the rate of weight loss is dependent on how heavy the person is, age, gender, whole bunch of factors, how athletic you are, what your job is, right? If you're at a desk job, you're gonna have to eat less and then maybe move more on your own by doing some cardio. So there are a lot of factors, and that's what makes everything complicated in this injury. There's not just this one right answer. The answer is usually always it depends,
Mm.
unfortunately, and you have to kind of do your own research, and it's very tough to figure out what's best for you if you don't know anything about this industry. So for me, it took a while. It took a very, very long time to just like cut the fluff, cut the nonsense out there. What actually works and what is effective and what's just kind of like a waste of time. And for me, and what I found out is it's actually the boring stuff. The boring stuff is what works. It's not flashy. It's not exciting, right? Because like I remember I tried vegan, going vegan for like 3 months. I tried keto. I tried low carb. I tried intermittent fasting. All of these things, like high intensity interval training on a fasted stomach, like all of these things, right? And did they work? Well, yes. But then the second I stopped doing them, that's when I just went right back into my old self and I didn't build up those nutrition habits long term. It was just all these little quick fixes here and there. Because I remember every time there was like, there's a trip coming up and we're going to like the Dominican or Jamaica or something. It's like, oh, okay, well, I need to get in shape. So I just like starve and run around the block every single day. It's like
Right.
but then as soon as I'd get back from vacation, I'd completely stop. It's like, no, you have to keep going all
Mm.
the time. And this is where a lot of people they follow in the same patterns. Will do something for not even a month, some cases. They'll try it out for like a week, or maybe even less than that. And then they'll be like, oh, that didn't work. It's like, well, you tried it out for a week. You
Right.
can't say that it didn't work. It's like, investing in the stock market and only making one investment and then it tanked after a week and then you sold. It's like, well, investing doesn't work. It's like, no,
Right.
you're just doing it completely wrong. You're not giving it long enough of a time horizon. And it's very, very common. Yeah, people want to see, especially nowadays, people want to see results quick. They really, really do, right? Because we have with the advent of social media, you see these transformations online. It's like, oh, well, that person did this in a month. It's like, you have no idea how fast that person actually did it.
Right.
They could be completely lying to you, right? And there's a lot of stuff with like fitness influencers that have been caught lying, and people just don't care. They're still gonna buy the products and everything. Yeah, it's there's just a lot of misinformation online now, and it's really messing with the industry.
Why do
Now,
you think that is? Like, why do you think it's gotten to a point where people are allowed to spread things that aren't true and they're just not simply fact checked? Or is it just a matter of there's too much of it out there?
because they know they can get away with it. That's one reason. Nothing is stopping them. Even people who have been completely caught lying multiple times still get away with it. And this has been going on for, pretty much since the health and wellness industry has been a thing, right? We've seen it time and time again. It's a new person with a different coat of paint, essentially selling a product, or they say this doesn't work, but the products that I have do work. Like Livercane. I'm sure you've probably heard of
Oh,
Livercane.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, you have to go back to the primal ways of doing things, and you have to consume, or if you don't want to consume raw meats, that's okay. I have this product that will allow you to get the results of eating meat without actually eating raw meat. So it's stuff like that. And he looks insane, and he got caught using performance enhancing drugs, and people still buy his stuff. They're like, I want to look like that guy. It's like, well, no, that's not how it works. I'm not going to buy like the Chris Hemsworth program and end up looking like Chris Hemsworth. The only person who can do that is Chris Hemsworth.
Right.
That's not how it works. And I remember, especially, I would say like 10 years ago, that was like kind of the types of programs that were being sold. Like, I remember the Wolverine program, or like 8-week transformation program. You like look like Wolverine in 8 weeks. It's like, that's not how that works at all.
Yeah.
Right. And there's all this information on there. Like if you type in like how to lose weight, there's like 2 billion results. So it's like, if you're new, like where do you begin? Right? How do you know who to listen to? What makes sense? Who's right? Because like there's stuff that we're finding out every day that might be something right today, might be wrong tomorrow, 10 years from now, and we don't know. But that's usually the things that are right long term are the things that are boring.
I love it. Yeah.
The things that I was like, oh, okay, well, I already knew that, but I want something new. I want something fresh. It's like, oh, well, and usually these diets, what they do is they just completely remove a food group of some kind, or, macronutrients. They remove something, and then that puts you in a lower calorie deficit temporarily anyway, right? So it's and I feel like they rinse and repeat after a while, or just call something as something different like 20 years later, and then no one really notices except for people in this industry.
Yeah.
And we're just like caught shaking our heads. It's like, oh my God, kidding me, right? So even go ahead.
It's interesting you talk about even the removal, talking about calorie deficit. You said earlier about the sustainability. So doing a diet that is something that's going to be sustainable long term, which is actually what keeps the result. And I think it's important for people to understand, who are listening, there's a difference between achieving the result and keeping the result. And
Yeah.
two of those, any diet, like you said, works. I've seen a lot of diets that, in temporary circumstances, maybe a 2 month, 3 month period, deliver some type of result out there. But then afterwards, it's, well, what is your ability to keep the result? Is it going to be sustainable for your life long term? Can you actually eat this style moving forward 6 months, a year? You're going to have nutrient deficiencies because you do that. And then going back to now the macronutrients, the removal, which is effectively just calorie deficit.
Yeah.
What would you say, let's say, are the top four boring things? We'll call them boring, but they're basically just the non negotiables that work,
Yeah.
that tried and true actually work for things like weight loss. I know calorie deficit is one of them, right? You're just burning more than you're eating. What would you say the other ones are?
Oh yeah, so calorie being in a calorie deficit if you're trying to lose weight is very important, but not too much of a calorie deficit because you don't want to be starving. That's the other thing. And you can type in how fast you should lose weight. It's called a TDEE calculator, so total daily energy expenditure calculator, and you can see, hey, what's like a safe rate that I can use in order to lose weight. So making sure that your macros are also balanced. So your proteins, your carbohydrates, and your fats and fiber, which also goes into carbs, but making sure those are all balanced, right? Because one way of looking at it, calories in versus calories out. If you're in a calorie deficit, you will lose weight, right? But theoretically, you could also lose weight by just eating Twinkies. We don't want that because you're not going to feel good. So how do you end up feeling good? Well, you need to have proper micronutrients. That's all your vitamins, minerals, all those things. Those are the things that are going to make you feel good. So Twinkies do not have very good micronutrients, right? So we want to make sure we're balancing it out with whole foods like vegetables, fruits, lean proteins. Those are going to be what's making you feel good. Also, proper supplementation with vitamins and minerals if necessary. Then the macronutrients, like they'll affect how you look. So, for example, if you're having a lot of protein, it's going to help build some lean muscle. And when you combo that with working out, that's going to be good. So calories in, calories out will determine your overall weight loss or weight gain. Calories in, calories out affects the weight. Micronutrients, how you feel. Macronutrients, how you look. So that in a nutshell, it's a little bit more complex, as you know, than that, but that's like the easiest way of kind of just wrapping your head around things. Usually what you need to do if you just want to stick to something that actually works is if you just have, vegetables, complex carbs, fruits, lean proteins, boring stuff, very, very boring stuff, and you have that every day, then you're usually you're going to be pretty good at that point, right? Reduce alcohol, reduce fast food, takeout. Like these are pretty simple things that you can do. If you're drinking 3 beers or having 3 glasses of wine a night, that's going to be pretty high in calories because people underestimate like how high in calories alcohol is, right? Especially when you drink your calories. It's not good. All the sugary beverages, cutting out all the junk. And it can be really tough, especially if you are going out. Like the summer is one of the hardest times to lose weight and stick to a program. Same with Christmas time and the holidays where people are going out to eat, they're seeing friends and family, and they're celebrating and, kind of go into that charcuterie board a little too much during the holidays, and that's a time where I see just this huge increase in weight across the board. Learning how to say no is another thing. Now you don't have to be a bodybuilder and bring Tupperware to your friend's house and have like a pre-made meal. Unless you're doing a bodybuilding show, that's something you probably would have to do. But for most normal people, saying no sometimes is one of the best things you can do, but it's also one of the hardest things and boring, like I said. Or going to a restaurant and instead of looking at the prices, looking at the calories, or doing research on the nutrition info for what you can get. That's a lower calorie option at a restaurant. So if you are going to someplace, then you can Google it ahead of time. And that way you can actually lose the weight, but then keep it off and not get into the swing of things.
So the majority of the people listening, I've gotten a lot of questions over the span of years talking about this aspect of quick fixes, the supplements. You mentioned Liver King. Hey, if you don't want to do the diet, hey, take the supplement and it's got everything that's there. Why do you think that people gravitate so much to the aspect of quick fix? And maybe this ties into the comment you said about the inability to say no. What is it about choosing the real work versus taking the quick fix that makes it so hard?
Well, one, I think it's people's overall knowledge of the health and fitness industry and health and wellness. This is stuff that should be taught in school, but it's not. It's very important. Like how to take care of yourself, 101, how to lose weight, keep it off. Like this should be taught. Just people's knowledge in general of this industry is pretty bad unless you have someone like you're raised with like a family member who kind of knows what they're doing. Then it's kind of tough to know. Like I remember growing up and there was this whole got milk campaign. I'm sure you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And the part of this healthy balanced breakfast was have a glass of milk, cereal, and orange juice. And nowadays people would be like, that is not a healthy breakfast. But that's what happened in the 90s. And even before that, it was even worse. Like cigarettes back, like, 100 years ago, they were used as a weight loss tool.
Yeah.
So it's like people's knowledge is actually getting a little bit better, but there are some things where they're still kind of lagging behind. And it's basically, or should be taught more, but a lot of people just don't care either. So when you have all these things in combination with one another, it makes it very tough for someone trying to figure out what to do. And then when they see someone, it's like, oh, this person lost this amount of weight in a short amount of time, they think that it's applicable to them, but it's not just a copy and paste every single time. Like you will get that person's result 100% if you just follow the plan. That is not the case, right? Because as you know, life happens. Genetics, what they were actually doing, is that person lying? You have no idea, right? And it's one of those things where, I've seen like the average person who does like our 6-week challenge, they lose around, 15 to 20 pounds, depending on a couple factors, right? Age and gender are the biggest ones. But the record is like 30 pounds for this year. We've had more in total, but like, am I expecting everyone to lose 30 pounds in that 6-week time frame? No. We want at least 10. 10 should be more than doable, but it also depends on how big they are, right? So another reason why people want quick fixes, because it's quick. That's it. Hey, would you rather have a 6-pack now, or would you rather have a 6-pack in a year? Now. But now, is it possible? Not yet with current technology and current medical procedures, right? You can get liposuction, but there's a reason why my liposuction has an 80% failure rate, and they gain all the weight back and then get into an even worse spot. And this is one of those industries where you can't get things done quick in certain cases. You can't just, I'm going to go buy a 6-pack today before my trip. You can't do that. You have to actually put in the work. There's, I can't remember where I heard this, but I think there was a study done. There are more millionaires over the age of 30 in North America than there are people with the 6-pack.
Interesting. Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
I believe that. I totally believe that.
Yeah. And I'm just like, what? Like, that's insane to me, because you can inherit money. You cannot inherit a 6-pack. And that's one thing, because you have to do the work yourself. And a lot of people, they just either A, don't care enough to do it, or don't want to do it, or don't need to do it. Why would they? And, it does help a lot in many aspects of your life. As you know, once you build up the discipline, the habits, you make it a part of your routine, everything else gets easier, everything else. But a lot of people don't know that. And one thing that I've seen at the gym, which is so interesting, is I had former athletes come in, and they're about 50 pounds overweight, let's say, and they know what it's like to be like 150 pounds or 200 pounds, and then they gained 50. So they know what it's like to be in shape. And that's why they'd be willing to do anything to get back to where they were before. And they don't even have to be a former athlete. This could be someone who put on 50 pounds and, they know what it's like to be in good shape versus bad shape. So they have an easier time losing weight than someone who's been overweight their entire life. And they don't know what it's like to be in good shape, because they've always been that person who's been bigger. Right. And I thought that was just so interesting to me. I was like, oh my God, like it was just such a mind opener. Because like some people simply don't know how bad of a condition they're actually in, right? That's the other thing. the people who have been in good shape before or in decent shape before, they are actually more prone, from my anecdotal experience, they're more prone to wanting to get things done quick. They want to lose it quick. It's like, oh, I want to get back down to where I was before, and I want to do it fast. I want to do it like now. And I was like, interesting. Now, like I have a couple hundred people as a sample size, and this could be different on a larger scale. I just thought those are some interesting findings in general.
Absolutely. I think when people are approaching this as a journey and they're going through the experience, a lot of them don't just have weight as baggage. I also think that they have identities and expectations, and your environment contributes to it as well. Where if someone is going in and they already have the victim mindset, they believe genetics is against them, they're in an environment that's definitely not helping because maybe their friends and their family are eating the same way or doing the same unhealthy habits, then they're going to try to take this journey on with the mindset of, oh, my entire family is overweight or I've been having these issues forever. I can see where that can be a large deterrent of taking the long route for this. And someone not wanting to spend the 2 or 3 years to continue to build and basically do the weight loss properly. I will say, though, that there are people now who recognize, because you and I typically come across people who have done things on their own 2 to 3 times already. They failed multiple times, and they're recognizing there are a lot of things that I don't know. The quick fixes don't work. Now I'm in this state where I have the mindset and I'm ready to actually do the work. And now it's simply a matter of changing the lifestyle or changing the habits. So I've actually got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
With your clients coming in at the beginning, what are the first habits that you have them change or that you recommend they change to set them up for success through this process?
First things first, attending the sessions. Very as simple as possible. Are you able to just attend the sessions? Now, before that, we have a nutrition and accountability onboarding meeting where we set them up, give them all the things they need. We provide options which work, which we find out which works best for them. And we try to set smart goals, specific, measurable, the rest. So we try and set them up with goals, realistic goals that they can actually stick with. And just, you need small wins in the beginning. You need small wins. Some people, they can just go right into it and just, crush it. Others need to have their hand held. Some get confused. Some get a little scared or intimidated. But just those small wins that are consistent, they add up over time, right? And especially if they've either never even been to a gym before, which happens a lot. Our clientele, we have a decent percentage that have never even stepped foot in a gym, and they're 50.
Wow.
And
okay.
Just to be hey, you are coming in, you are putting in the work, you're getting stronger, your form's getting better, you're feeling better. Yeah, if the scale's not going down as much as you'd like, that's okay. We always try and look at the positives, right? Because there's no negatives on, going to the gym consistently, right? If your form's good, everything's all right. No one's gonna be like, hey, you got to stop going to the gym. It's bad for you. Now, obviously, if you overdo it and you injure yourself and stuff, but as long as you're not going 6 hours a day every single day, then you should be okay. But one thing, it's these little wins that will make huge, they make huge wins later on.
Okay.
And being, consistency when it comes to pretty much anything, that's the most important thing that we see a lot.
What would you consider a tiny win or a little win? Something that is going to build momentum. So showing up to the session, which I think is great because that starts building a habit there. What is another win that maybe people might not even consider a win that starts to build?
Cooking food for themselves, right? Meal prepping. Right? Meal prepping is just leftovers if you think about it, right? You make a meal and then you have multiple versions of that meal. So you can eat it fresh once and then, you have some for leftover. That's what meal prepping is. And people overcomplicate meal prepping, right? And I've had people who've never really cooked before and they're like, hey, this isn't too bad. Because what I found, especially in my experience, is if you're having these highly palatable foods, like fast food every day, chips, chocolate, ice cream, all those really nice tasting, high sugar, high sodium foods. And then you go to, chicken breast, broccoli, rice, or ground beef. It doesn't taste as good. It definitely doesn't. But then after a while, you start to take the junk out and then start to eat more of the healthy food. You kind of adjust to it, and you're like, hey, this is like pretty good now. This is tasting nice, especially if you're cutting a lot and you're at a lower body fat percentage. Anything tastes good
Yeah,
at that point.
fair.
You realize like, hey, like this stuff is tasting good. I'm feeling better, and these are things that people don't realize. So just literally like a small win would just be actually making your meals for the day even and sticking with it, right? Going for a walk around the block, something super, super simple, right? And if you've never really done cardio before, like very, very simple. Looking at the nutrition info and making that a habit is a big one,
Mm.
right? Because we would go over people's calories, right? Total daily energy expenditures. We would calculate all that. It's like, hey, if you're having like a can of pop every day, that's 140 calories per can, right? Like if you're having a couple of those, that's basically a whole meal, right?
Mhm.
Worth of calories. So then when people start to kind of wrap their heads around that, it's always crazy to see their eyes are just like, what, really? It's like, yeah, oh yeah.
Mhm.
A Big Mac, just the sandwich is 565 calories. Costco French fries, 900 calories.
Oh, wow.
A
Okay.
lot, right? So like if you're having a lean protein meal with some complex carbs with some veggies, 300 to 400 calories,
Mhm.
right? It's going to keep you full, and it's going to be great for building muscle and helping with digestion because it's got some decent fiber in there. You take a look at, even like a couple beers, it's like, oh, that's 300 calories. Now, do you just have a beer usually?
Never.
Mostly, no. Like it's usually two, maybe three beers.
Mhm.
That and
Mm-hmm.
maybe a tall boy too. So you're looking at like 450 to like 700 calories depending on what you're actually drinking, right? And I always just try to get people to just like look at the nutrition info as much as possible because it is shocking how bad some of that stuff is. I remember having some clients message me and then they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't know how much calories were in some of the sauces, my favorite sauces that I'm
Mm.
using," right? Because we also want people in certain cases to take pictures of food
Yep.
because that way not only are we knowing that they're sticking to the meal plan, but it's just like this other psychological thing about sending a picture of food to your trainer that makes them actually stick to the program a little bit more
They're
effectively.
choosing different plate angles. Like, how can I minimize that?
Yeah, I've seen it where the people would take like a slice of bread with peanut butter out of frame or take a picture of like you can see the Haagen-Dazs ice cream just slightly out of the picture. It's like, hey, I see what you're doing there. Usually as a joke, but like, yeah, it's these things, especially in the beginning. Especially in
Mhm.
the beginning, we want to see small, consistent wins, and it is different depending on the individual. Hell, even getting 8 hours of sleep or just trying to get sleep, because some of these people, they're very hardworking individuals and they're getting like 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night and they got kids and everything. It's like you should not be doing that. You need more
Yeah.
sleep. Drinking water. Are you drinking, at least, even like 2 liters of water throughout the entire day? Some of these people don't even drink water at all. And we need to figure these things out, right? And that's why we want to make sure that we check up on them at least once a month.
I love that. I
Mhm.
think all the things that you talked about are things that, like you said, I mean, I love the idea of having like a Life 101 or Take Care of Yourself 101 class because people really do need it. And I will say, coming from a family that was not health oriented and then becoming the health oriented person in which now my family is starting to change the way that they eat and the style that they eat, it's crazy the amount that you don't realize or that you don't understand. Like I grew up with Dunkaroos, fruit roll ups, I had a Lunchables. Every
Yeah.
day for lunch was Lunchables. And all of those things are things where you just don't recognize has a long-term impact, even in your cravings, even in the way that your palate is adjusting to food. But I will say throughout the entire process, there is a certain mindset that I think some people have to have. I was very fortunate that food was never a coping mechanism for me. I largely saw food as like, I just have to eat and it's sustenance and that's it. And I never had any issues with food. But in your experience, what would you say the role of their mindset plays in sticking to these quick wins, sticking to the habits and the plan that you set? What would you say towards that?
Yeah, so I'll use myself as an example because I was the one who did do quick fixes and I
Mm,
learned in my 20s It's like after so many times, I'm like, okay, I tried this and this and this. Deep down, I sort of knew where I was going wrong. And this is where, when people say, I don't know why I can't lose weight, they probably do. They probably do, put a gun to their head and say, hey, you're dead unless you tell me why you can't lose weight. They will probably figure it out. Like, maybe some people don't, but they will probably come up with a couple reasons of why they can't lose weight. And that was me. So I always knew it's like, okay, I probably shouldn't be doing these quick fixes. I probably should stick to something more sustainable, probably cut the alcohol down, probably not eat fast food and takeout consistently, like at least 4 times a week, because that's how much I was doing. At least 4 times a week. It was a lot. Yeah, it's really, really tough to admit it to yourself. All right, because sometimes you don't want to actually say it, right? But it's like, yes, like this is where I'm going wrong. I know I need to make this change. But for me, it was like enough was enough, and it took me a while. It took me like until my 30s to actually make sure to do it properly. And it was tough. It was definitely tough. And usually in most parts of life, it's not a good idea to just rush. Because I always wanted to rush. I always wanted to, get as big as possible, but also have a shredded six-pack at the same time. And, especially in my early 20s, that's when it's got the worst. And then the other thing is also seeing people who just get better results than you, right? Because what I remember is I would go hang out with my friends and we'd go to the gym, and then I would eat the exact same as them, but they'd look great and I just kept on gaining weight. I'm like, what's going on? It's like, okay, well, I'm 5'9", they're like 6 foot, 6'2", and then they also work trades jobs. So what works for them might not necessarily work for me. And that's when it just kind of clicked. I'm like, I need to figure out what works for me and be realistic and actually stick to it, right? And sometimes, unfortunately, it might take you twice as long as a friend or someone to get similar results due to a whole bunch of factors, right? And like genetics plays like a huge role in muscle gain, and people don't really understand that. Like there's some bodybuilders, you take a look at younger photos of them, like Ronnie Coleman or Chris Bumstead, Jay Cutler, and they look like fully grown men, super jacked at like 16 years old.
Yeah.
And you're just like, holy crap. It's just like, they just have like those genetics. Just like how there's a cap on how tall you can get, there's a cap on how much muscle you can get, depending on the individual. And then I think providing realistic expectations on that is important, but also tough to hear. Some people don't want to hear it, right? And I think some people would get like frustrated that they're not getting results as fast as like other people, and then that's when they would go into the quick fixes and they realize, hey, I'm still not getting the results that I wanted with quick fixes. They're like, what's going on? And then that would just like stop people or completely deter them from working out in the first place, right? And I think when it comes to genetics, people really, really underestimate how important it actually is. Even with like age, I always use this example for like Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez, everyone says, oh my God, she looks great for her age. It's because she's rich. It's like, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who are the same age as Jennifer Lopez who have way more money who look terrible.
Fair.
It is simply, she's just got good genetics, and she's also in movies and stuff, and she's got makeup teams and people working on her all the time. So it's like you can't compare yourself to that, right? Yeah, it's all these factors that are taken into that aren't really talked about as much, that do actually have effect on many aspects of your health and fitness goals.
It's interesting that you bring up the genetics. So I actually just finished getting a genetics test done. I don't know if you've ever seen kind of the full panels, but I was looking at my genome because I'm always looking, like I am a performance geek in the background. I'm always looking for ways to figure out how I can feel better, how I can get more energy, how I can perform better. And it was a friend of mine who is in police foundations and it's kind of SWAT based stuff. And he's got to perform at a really high level. And he worked with a naturopath that was solely on performance stuff. So in going through and looking at my genetics, I found something incredibly interesting, which when we talk about the muscle profile, and actually I'll send you the results because I think you would find it very interesting as well too. So I am heavily estrogen dominant, which means that my ability to build lean muscle mass is going to be a lot harder than other people. Not to say it impossible, but it's
Yeah.
something that works against you. But I also have a couple of vitamin D markers and zinc markers that actually prevent me from absorbing and converting my estrogen properly, which is
Yeah.
another thing as well for someone who's looking to build lean muscle. So these are things where I think people often don't know that there's always other levels to stuff. Like we're talking about things at a very basic level, which is what are the non-negotiables that you can do yourself, that you can do with a coach that work really well. Eating, sleeping, getting the hydration, working with a coach to make sure that your nutrition's on point, that your activity. That's the staples and the non-negotiables 100%. But there's always other levels that you don't recognize until you get to a point where you go, okay, what is the next step? So in bringing up the genetics, I mean, there were so many things that I saw there, and there were even genetic factors that was talking to me about my mood, which I never realized. So
Yeah.
my ability to focus on stay on task, my perfectionist mindset, in my genome for some of these things, which I was like, oh, this is so interesting. And of course, there's dietary recommendations and things that I can do from
Yeah.
that, but all things that you can do to say that there's like health is not a destination. It's not this thing where once you lose the 30 pounds and you've seen it, people go, well, this is my initial goal. Cool. What's next? Because there is a what's next. You're going to have another thing. Is it another destination or is it figuring out how I do this long term as a lifestyle?
Yeah. It's because I use this analogy. It's not like you reach a level 100 in a video game and then you're good. In a video game, you stay level 100 and you don't have to do anything. You can come back to the game a month later and you're still level 100, right? Unfortunately, in real life, you hit your goal, then you start to kind of, if you stop completely, then you're going to down level a little bit. You're going to be, oh, I was at a level 100, now I'm at 90, now I'm at 80, and you're just like, oh crap, right? And the good thing, when you mentioned all these tests, there's going to be so many cool things coming up in the next couple years where you can, you can figure out what types of food works best for your body or make you feel better, right? And I think there's stuff like this that already exists. It's in like the prototype or beta phase, but it's going to get more specific and more accurate. So you can be, it's just like, finding out you're allergic to broccoli. Like you find that stuff out, but then there just could be foods that, your body doesn't deal with as well. So you can pretty much figure out which foods work best for you and then go from there. But then when it comes to how much like muscle you can have, right, and how much, how tall you can get, what affects your mood, all these things. You also shouldn't let it be an excuse to not do something, right? There are some people who are just built for a specific task. Like Michael Phelps, he's built for swimming. He's got nice long arms and he's like 6'3" or something. But, and he's Olympian. He's one of the greatest Olympians, if not the greatest Olympian of all time. But then you take someone who's, meant for long distance running, they have long legs. You switch them. They're going to perform badly. The marathon runner is going to do badly at swimming, and Michael Phelps is going to be bad at marathon running. So, and just because you're not 6'8" doesn't mean you should never play basketball. Right? You can still do these things and you can still enjoy them. But you just have to understand there's going to be people who are more suited for certain things, right? Because I remember having this conversation with my friend, right? So I feel like I'm more built for kind of like long distance running, more hybrid athlete type. But I have a buddy who's just like naturally strong. Way strong, like he's barely even been to the gym and he's like beating me at weights, benching like 315 right off the bat. I'm like, holy
Crazy.
Like I'm 160 pounds. For me to bench 350, that's more than, that's like double my body weight.
Yeah.
Right. But he's like 250 and he can bench 315. Right. So he's a pretty big dude. I used to back in my 20s be like, oh man, I wish I could bench 315. No, I don't care. Who cares?
Yeah.
No one cares. So like, and this is where people kind of get like disheartened a little bit. It's like especially guys, it's like it doesn't matter your bench, guys. No one cares.
Yeah.
Except for you.
Sorry. Yeah. No one cares.
So like I remember my one buddy, he's not built for marathon running. He's a really, really big guy. It's that same like powerlifter guy. And he's still doing it. He's not
Mhm.
like genetics are not in his favor for this. He's a
Mhm.
very big boned, thick dude, and he is like kind of like overweight a little bit, but he's still doing it. It's nothing
Mhm.
stopping him, right? So I think one issue kind of going into these like deep dives of what you're meant to be or what you can and can or what you'd be better at or worse at,
Yeah.
you get some people being like, well, I'm not going to do this because my genetic profile test says
Right.
I'm not going to be the best at it. So why bother? It's like no. You could still do that. Like even from like a video game perspective, right? You know, let's say you got your spellcaster or your tank or your damage, your DPS guy. If you're a DPS, can you still be a tank?
Mhm.
Yeah, but are you going to be as good as the natural tank character? No, but you can still be a tank. Nothing's stopping you. You can do it if you find it fun and not hurting anyone or yourself. It's a problem. There's no.
Absolutely.
Am I going to beat Michael Phelps in a race in swimming? No, never, not at all. With my knees been there,
Oh,
but yeah, it's people still need to just get out, be a little bit more active, and it's tougher. I find nowadays, especially after the events of 2020. Let's say I
yeah.
find people are staying at home and not doing as much. But I think
Mhm.
now after like 5 or 6 years, we're seeing a little bit more of a resurgence of physical activity because for the past like couple years, the people in North America who are overweight, obese, and morbidly obese is going up at a higher and
Yeah.
faster rate. But now I think it's sort of like stagnating. I'm
Mhm.
curious to see what the numbers are going to be like for the end of this year.
Well, I think this circles back to your point of awareness. Awareness and recognition gets to the point where someone knows what they're doing is not healthy and what they're doing is not okay, and they're not in a great spot. And although, the big C could have been used as an excuse transferring, it's like we're 4 years past this. At this point, there really is no excuse but yourself. And this is why people have to take on that initiative. I'm curious as we kind of finish up the episode for today, if you were looking back at your past self, starting your journey, what would be something you would tell yourself to get your older self started on this process? What would you say as the person you are now?
So buy Bitcoin, but then
Got it.
buy more Bitcoin. No, but I would tell myself, hey, don't rush, do it properly. I got to tell myself now to do that sometimes, right? So don't rush. Hey, everything's gonna be okay. You don't need to rush. Just do things properly because if you rush, usually you end up screwing something up, and then you have to go back and fix it anyway, right? In certain cases, not all the time, but just like take it slow, do it properly. The boring stuff is the stuff that works. And then even in business, and you're a business owner yourself, right? What's the hurry? What's
Mhm.
the hurry? So, and I find that there's a lot of parallels between health and fitness and business as well. And
Mhm.
all the things that I learned in health and fitness are more than applicable to the stuff I've learned in business. And, telling my old stupid self, just be like, hey, man, yeah, because I was always felt like you wanted to get things, or I wanted to get things done fast, and I was always kind of in a hurry,
Mhm.
but there's no need to be, and just enjoy the journey, make friends along the way, all that the fun stuff,
Mhm.
right? And yeah, I think that's what I would say.
I love that because I think people do need to give themselves a little bit of credit and be a little kinder and just recognize. We always look at from a hindsight perspective and say that this is the way that I would approach it. But no, I find it interesting. I appreciate you sharing that with us. And as we finish this up, I would love to have you share where they can find you. I know you're very big on socials as well too. Where's FP Fitness located, and how can people get more of Keyon?
So we are located in Burlington, Ontario. So you can check us out at our website at fpfitness.ca, or you can check us out on Instagram, fp_fitness.real. So we do a lot of posting there, and you can always reach out to us if you need help with your health and fitness goals.
100%. And I will say, definitely go and check out Keon's stuff. Him and I have been in the industry probably as long. I think we've been in the industry for the same length of time. And I can say a couple of things. He has lived experience, which is something that most coaches do not have. A person who goes through their own journey and then is also a coach afterwards definitely knows and understands the struggles and the challenges that some professionals don't, especially if there's been a professional who's never overweight or stuff like that. Not to say that that's like a huge thing, but it definitely plays a role in his understanding of how he works with you, the ways that he approaches it a little bit different. And I love how he brought a level of realism. So I appreciate you, brother, for hopping on the channel, which will be sweet. And I'm sure we're going to get tons of questions. So you guys know that you can now text and message the HHP podcast. When you text, like I said before, because some people are like, is this Andrew's cell? No, it's not Andrew's cell. I'm not just going to put Andrew's cell out on the internet, but we still are taking questions. So if you got questions for me, if you got questions for Keyon, drop them in there. We can always have them back for another episode. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening to the HHP episode. We will see you on the next one, guys. And thanks again to Keyon for coming out today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me so much, Andrew. Love being here.
Well, it seems I'm all out of info juice for today. That's all for this episode. And thank you so much for listening. Please leave a raving review for me if you've learned something good, and make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. Now, if you're in the mood for some more great content and tools to get your hormones on track, why not check out our free Facebook group and the blog on our site. We do amazing weekly trainings in our group that me and my wife call Tea and Teachings that give good tips for anything hormones and metabolism related. It's also a great community where you get to share your goals and success with like-minded people just like you. I'll make sure to drop both the Facebook group link and the blog link in the show notes for you. Or if you're ambitious like me, the name of the group is Weight Loss and Balanced Hormones. It'll say Fit for All beside it with a picture of me. So come and join us and have more fun.